I lost 55 pounds. There were 8 healthy foods that I was eating that were actually stopping me from losing weight. Not because they were bad and I needed to ban them, but because I didn't understand back then that even healthy foods can blow your progress if you're trying to lose weight. What I know now is that to lose 1 pound of body fat, your body needs to burn around 3,500 calories more than it takes in. So no matter how healthy a food is, if you're still eating more energy than your body's gonna burn, then the scale ain't gonna budge. Some foods make it way easier to go over your calories without even realizing. They're all packed with nutrients, but they're also packed with calories. Number 1, protein powder. I thought it had some magical, mystical properties that would miraculously make me lose weight before I learned about nutrition properly. But here's the thing, when you drink your food instead of eating it, you don't get the same fullness signals in your brain. Chewing your food genuinely makes you feel more satisfied because digestion actually starts in your mouth. You have enzymes that begin breaking down nutrients before you even swallow. The bigger problem is you think, oh, if I start drinking protein powder, I'll lose weight. So you add it in. But the chances are you're not actually going to reduce anything elsewhere. And that means all you're doing is adding in extra calories every day. On that point, I want to take a moment to talk about portion size, because there's this mindset with protein that more is better. So a generous scoop would be a good choice, right? Well, this is a portion size as per the packet. You really got to level up off 1 scoop, 120 calories. But this is what loads of people do, me included. This is actually double. So if that was my shake, that's now 240 calories. If I did that every day without reducing my food somewhere else over the course of the day, I'm gonna be consuming an extra 1,700 calories a week. And this is so easy to do because it doesn't even feel like food. Case in point, I had a client a while ago who swore she was tracking everything. A couple of weeks went by and the scale wasn't moving. So I was like, right, walk me through your morning and let's leave no stone unturned. Okay, she was like, I get up, I go to the kitchen, I make my coffee, I make my protein shake. I was like, whoa. I haven't seen any protein shakes in your food log. And she said, oh yeah, I didn't actually even think to track that. I just thought of it as a supplement, not food. And I realized she was also having collagen in her coffee, taking creatine gummies. All these things were technically good for her health, but they were adding up to around 300 calories a day and totally undoing all the hard work she was putting in to create a calorie deficit. So if you're gonna use protein powder, then just drink it slowly and actually chew it, swirl it around your mouth to slow down how fast you're having it and give those enzymes a chance to work. And if you're taking any other supplements, this is your cue to check the calorie content and make sure you're eating less somewhere else to compensate. Speaking of drinking calories, smoothies and juices. I had a fancy juicer back in the day. I did the Juice Master 7 pounds in 7 days diet, had the book and everything. And then I went through a stage of having elaborate smoothies for breakfast. But they were all like 400 calories plus once I'd added in all the healthy elements. Think about this. If I lined up the ingredients for a smoothie, a whole banana, some raspberries, a scoop of protein powder, some almond milk, maybe even a little bit of peanut butter, jelly time. I'm gonna come back to peanut butter later because I got more on that. Eating all these ingredients separately is gonna take me a good 10 to 15 minutes. But as a smoothie, I can drink it in 2. So I'm not even gonna really notice. And in an hour's time, my body is telling me that I need to eat again. If you're going to have a smoothie, then please just sit down and actually take your time drinking it. But honestly, smoothies are something I recommend when clients can't get enough calories. Like when you're pregnant with morning sickness or you're trying to gain weight and build muscle. They are just not your friend when you're trying to lose weight. Number 3, salads. I always used to order salads if I went out to eat, not realizing that they were often just as calorific as the thing that I actually wanted on the menu. But let's talk about what's actually on the salad. Most of you know about things like avocado and cheese and mayo and oil, but light dressings, even the light ones, can be around 60 calories per tablespoon. Now that doesn't sound too bad, does it? But actually, who has 1 tablespoon? Realistically, if you're dressing a whole plate of salad, you're gonna be pouring 2 or 3 tablespoons. So now you're at 120 or 180 calories. And here's what gets me about those dressing calories. They don't really do anything for you. Yes, they make the salad taste nice, but they don't bring much to the table nutrition-wise. They don't increase how long it takes you to eat your meal or how full it makes you feel. For those 180 calories, you could have had some more cheese, some more nuts, some more protein, or even a couple pieces of fruit afterwards. So you need to be a bit smarter about how to pep up your salads. I personally love a really vinegary or citrusy dressing. Literally just a bit of balsamic vinegar or some lemon juice with some salt and pepper. Totally does it for me. Also, Asian inspired dressings are brilliant. So soy sauce, rice vinegar, a tiny bit of honey. Food number 4. I absolutely relate to eating peanut butter out of the jar. Me and my old housemate actually used to have a specific eating jar just for doing this. But let's talk about portion sizes. That was really thick. Hang on. You probably know what a tablespoon is, but what you're actually using is probably an eating spoon, designed to look nice, but not necessarily be an accurate measure of volume. If you actually measure out a real tablespoon measure and flatten it off, it's eye-opening how different the calories actually are. So you'll probably find on your packet that it says per 15-gram tablespoon. Well, that's a pretty level tablespoon, but that's 23 grams. Which is significantly more when it comes to something so calorie dense. But let's see if we can find an actual 15-gram serving. But that's it. Which I would say that's a teaspoon. So if you're using your tablespoon, and even if you're being fairly conservative and smoothing it off, that is 30 grams. So that's actually double what you think you're getting. Now, when it comes to something, like I said, as calorie dense as peanut butter, that means instead of having around 90 calories, you're having closer to 200. And if you do that every day, that's around £1 a month. And that can be the difference between losing weight and staying stuck. So from now on in, here is what we're gonna do. You are going to pop the jar on the scale, tear it to 0, and then you'll notice I've been doing this, scoop out the amount you want, and you'll see the exact amount in grams. No more sneaky calories, no more eyeballing. Using this tear method is going to save your sanity. Another misconception about peanut butter is that it's a protein source, but it isn't super high in protein for the calories. So if you're aiming for 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal, which by the way, you wanna do if you're trying to lose weight, I've got a video on planning for that, so make sure you're subscribed. Peanut butter on toast is not gonna get you there. So here's what I'd say. Use nut butter as your daily treat or your indulgence, but don't try to make it a protein source to base your meals around. If you want that peanut butter flavor in baking or overnight oats or whatever, then actually peanut butter powder like PB2 is a great choice because all the oil is removed and you're left with the protein and the flavor and a lot less calories. Number 5, protein bars. I did used to use them to satisfy a sweet craving, except they never really did. You think you're being good having a protein bar instead of a chocolate bar, but they're usually still around 200 calories. In fact, this is only 20 calories less than this. Most protein bars only actually have around 10 to 20 grams of protein, and they are very, very processed compared to actual food. So here's my reality check. If I'm gonna spend 200 calories on a snack, I'd really just rather have the chocolate bar that I actually want and I'm going to enjoy, rather than choking down something that tastes a bit bleh and doesn't really hit the spot. So focus on hitting your protein in your main meals by just boosting the portion sizes of your protein. Have 125 grams of chicken breast with your main meals instead of 100 grams, for example. And then you can just enjoy your treat without trying to squeeze a bunch of protein into it. Next up is dark chocolate. Now, everyone assumes it's healthier because it's lower in sugar. And yep, it usually is, if it's 80 or 90%. But it's still pretty high in calories. And the argument often goes that dark chocolate is less moreish, so you're gonna be satisfied after one small square. But in my personal experience, chocolate of any description isn't easy to resist if you have a sweet tooth. I found this brand of chocolate bars are so good. Oh, really good. Everyone assumes it's healthier because it's lower in sugar, but this one, the first ingredient is sugar. And it is still very high in calories. 100 grams of this is 561. It's only half of this bar. And I'm not gonna lie, I can eat that in front of the TV without even thinking about it. This is maybe healthier because it's dark chocolate and it's got nuts in it, but I'm still not able to stop once I start. If chocolate is your kryptonite and you find one that you actually enjoy, it's still gonna be a struggle to stop eating it. So dark chocolate isn't gonna magically make you lose weight just because it's dark. And if you're not really enjoying it, but you're having it just because you think it's better, why are you even wasting your calories on something you don't enjoy? If you are one of those rare people who can have a small portion of dark chocolate, enjoy it and move on, then cool. But that's probably not why you're watching this video. Number 7, hummus. Oh my goodness, I used to smash an entire tub before dinner with crudités because healthy, right? I cannot believe how many calories I was preloading before my actual meal. It's another one where you don't really tend to portion it out because it seems healthy, right? But if we put a recommended portion of hummus on a plate, yes, that is all, versus what you might expect, I don't know, maybe like this, it's pretty eye-opening. So that's around 100 calories, that's around 300 calories. Very easy to eat 300 calories, again, without realizing. You don't really have to chew this, it just kind of gets dipped into stuff. So if you're gonna eat it, for example, with chips, you don't even know how much you're eating. So even if you only have 10 chips, see how easy it would be to eat so many calories thinking you're making a healthy choice. That's around 150 calories for the chips and around 300 calories for the hummus. And this is another thing you tend to do when you're not paying attention. You're just dipping and eating whilst you're watching TV or you're chatting to friends, and you're putting away 400 to 500 calories without even noticing. So here's what I do, because I actually do love hummus and it's a great source of fiber to add to a salad or to have on the side of something. I just make my own homemade hummus. I just use a bit less oil and I use some of the water from the chickpea tin, it's called aquafaba, to get that creaminess that the oil usually provides. If you add some chipotle or some harissa for a bit more flavor, I promise you won't really miss the oil. And finally, number 8, trail mix. I mean, it's got fruit in it, and nuts are healthy fats, so it's good for you. But the thing is, dried fruit is really concentrated sugar and calories. Let's look at the physical example of raisins versus the same number of grapes. So this little teeny box has 30 raisins. This is 30 grapes. I'm going to take a good 5 minutes to eat those grapes. They're pretty physically large, they contain a lot of water, so they're going to fill my stomach. These raisins though, they never come out the box that easy. These raisins though, could be gone in one mouthful, and they're going to take up less space in my stomach, really not going to make me feel full. Forgot the nuts. And then there's the nuts. Yes, they are packed with nutrients, but just like the dried fruit, they're calorie dense. This is 100 calories of nuts. People often talk about a small handful of nuts, but look, it's really a small handful. It is way smaller than the portion you would probably eat if you just went and grabbed out the bag. Particularly, again, if you're doing this whilst you're doing something else. Picking at trail mix at your desk or whilst you're watching TV, even though technically it's healthy and technically, yes, nuts are filling because of the fat content, this only really applies if you eat them slowly and mindfully, so you notice when you're full. If you're having them because you're snacky and you want something to do with your hand, let's choose a lower calorie option for snacking instead. How about some home popped salted popcorn? You get a satisfying bite, a little bit of crunch, but for a fraction of the calories. This one swap alone has saved my clients hundreds of calories a day without feeling deprived. Or go for the full version of the fruit, which, yes, might be a bit higher in calories than the popcorn, but it's gonna fill you up and it's gonna keep you full. If you've been wondering why the scale isn't moving even though you're eating healthy, one of these 8 foods is probably playing a part. Maybe it's a different healthy food that you've realized is holding you back. Please do let us know in the comments, because it's great to see tips and tricks from other people. And if you wanna know the 7 habits that I changed when I lost 55 pounds, you're gonna wanna watch this video.